Now that you understand the depth of being grateful for every detail in life, what's stopping you from putting this into practice today? Ask yourself, how many times have you been grateful for things that seem insignificant, but without them, your day would be much more difficult? What if you change your attitude, recognizing divine wisdom even in the most challenging moments? This can change your life in ways you can't even imagine. Are you willing to start? If so, remember that transformation begins with small actions. Comment below a blessing that you are grateful for right now. And of course, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can continue receiving more content that will help you live with more faith, wisdom, and trust in God. Gratitude is a practice that should be cultivated daily. Many people wake up, go about their daily routines, and forget to appreciate the small blessings that God places in their path. The simple act of waking up, the sunrise, and breathing are gifts that not everyone has the privilege of experiencing. It takes hope and faith to recognize that every detail, no matter how small it may seem, is an expression of divine goodness. Starting the day with a grateful heart is the key to a lighter and more balanced life, because gratitude attracts more blessings. We are often so caught up in the difficulties of everyday life that we fail to notice God's presence in the simple moments. When we savor a meal, feel the wind on our face, or hear the birds singing, there is an opportunity to give thanks. This recognition that all things come from Him strengthens our trust in His providence. By looking at these small moments with more attentive eyes, wisdom grows and faith is solidified. Gratitude, therefore, becomes a daily spiritual exercise. A practical way to apply this is to create a gratitude journal. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you are grateful for. This could be something as simple as a pleasant conversation or completing a difficult task. This habit helps keep your mind focused on the positive and renews your trust in God. By doing this, you will notice that life is full of daily gifts, and the more you are grateful, the more you will notice the blessings around you. And so, an invitation arises to something even greater, recognizing the grandeur of nature as a manifestation of God. Nature is a living expression of God's wisdom. When you look at the starry sky, the imposing mountains, or the infinite ocean, it is impossible not to feel the divine presence. Every tree, every flower, every bird that sings is a reminder that the Creator is present in everything. This divine manifestation invites us to reflect on the beauty that surrounds us and teaches us that creation is an extension of God's love. Those who observe nature with attentive eyes understand that there is a deep connection between creation and the Creator, who calls us to the responsibility of caring for it. However, this beauty was not given to us to be simply admired, but rather preserved. By polluting rivers, destroying forests, or mistreating animals, we are disrespecting this divine work. Caring for nature is, in fact, an act of faith and wisdom, a way of showing our gratitude to God for the world that has been entrusted to us. Small gestures, such as saving water, recycling, or planting a tree, are practical ways of protecting this manifestation of God. After all, the way we treat creation reflects the way we honor the Creator. In addition, nature teaches us valuable lessons of patience and renewal. Look at a tree that loses its leaves in the fall. It seems to be dying, but in fact it is preparing to be reborn in the spring. The same is true of our spiritual lives. God constantly gives us signs that after difficult times, there is always hope for a new beginning. And by valuing these lessons from creation, we realize that human connections are also part of this great divine design. The connections we form throughout life are one of the greatest gifts God gives us. Family, friends, and even those who cross our path for brief moments are divine instruments for our spiritual growth. These relationships shape us, challenge us, and above all, teach us to love and forgive. When we stop to reflect on these connections, we realize that each person we meet has a purpose in our journey. Valuing these relationships is recognizing God's wisdom in placing these people in our lives. It is easy to fall into a routine and forget to show gratitude for those who support us on a daily basis. The rush of life can make us neglect the importance of a thank you or a simple gesture of affection. However, cultivating these relationships with love and wisdom strengthens the bonds that God has allowed us to create. A practical example of this is setting aside moments during the week to be present with those we love, whether through a phone call, a visit, or a sincere message. Small gestures of attention show how much we value these blessings. And when we encounter conflicts, it is important to remember that even difficulties in human relationships have a purpose. It is in these situations that we learn about patience, understanding, and forgiveness, essential virtues that God wants us to develop. By dealing with challenges with wisdom and faith, we strengthen our spirituality and become better prepared to reflect divine love in our actions, being a channel of hope for those around us. Faith is like an anchor that keeps us steady, even when life's storms hit us. It gives us the certainty that, regardless of the circumstances, God is in control. Trusting that there is a greater purpose gives us hope and strength to face any challenge. Life can be uncertain, full of ups and downs, but those who place their faith in God find security in the midst of chaos. It is this trust that allows us to move forward, knowing that He is always with us. In times of difficulty, it is faith that sustains us. How many times have we heard stories of people who, even in extreme situations, found strength where there seemed to be none? This power comes from faith, an intimate connection with God, which gives us the certainty that we are not alone. A practical example is the habit of meditating on biblical promises, such as those that speak of hope and divine provision, reinforcing the confidence that God never abandons us. But faith is not just for bad days. It is also the foundation that guides us in everyday decisions. When we place our trust in God, we allow His wisdom to guide our steps, both in life's big and small choices. Faith then becomes a constant guide, reminding us that every action, no matter how small, has a purpose in God's plan. This gives us not only confidence, but also a sense of peace, knowing that we are on the right path. Accepting difficulties is an act of wisdom, because it recognizes that not every day will be easy, but that they all have a purpose. God allows us to face challenges, not to punish us, but to teach and strengthen us. Every obstacle that appears in our path brings with it a hidden lesson, something that brings us closer to Him and makes us grow in faith and trust. Pain and difficulty, when seen from this perspective, become opportunities for transformation. Instead of complaining or giving up when faced with problems, it is wiser to ask, what does God want me to learn from this? When we face life with this attitude, we realize that even in the most complicated situations, there is a greater reason. A practical example is the patience we develop when dealing with setbacks, such as chaotic traffic or a delay. These are small daily tests that shape our character and prepare us for greater challenges. Difficulties are also a reminder that we depend on God. When everything is going well, it is easy to forget to ask for His help. But in moments of affliction, we are led back to the source of wisdom and strength. Accepting this dependence is not a sign of weakness, but of trust in divine care. Thus, each pain we face becomes another step in our journey of faith, where gratitude flourishes even in the most arid terrain. Each of us has a responsibility to reflect God's love in our actions. It is not enough to simply talk about faith. We must live that faith through compassion and kindness. When we are able to reach out to those in need, whether with a comforting word, a generous gesture, or simply by listening, we are fulfilling our role as divine instruments. God's love is manifested through our daily actions in how we treat others. Being an example of love in action does not mean performing great heroic acts. On the contrary, it is in the little things that we most demonstrate our faith. A simple "how are you" can mean the world to someone who feels alone. Making an unexpected visit, helping with everyday tasks, or simply being there at the right time are practical ways of acting with love. The secret is to keep our hearts open and attentive to the needs of those around us. This responsibility drives us to be a light in the world. We live in times when selfishness often prevails, but God's call is to swim against this tide. When we cultivate attitudes of kindness and compassion, we inspire others to do the same, creating a virtuous cycle that can transform the reality around us. In this way, our faith takes shape and has a real impact, bringing hope and confidence to those who cross our path. Now that you understand the depth of being grateful for every detail in life, what's stopping you from putting this into practice today? Ask yourself, how many times have you been grateful for things that seem insignificant, but without them, your day would be much more difficult? What if you change your attitude, recognizing divine wisdom even in the most challenging moments? This can change your life in ways you can't even imagine. Are you willing to start? If so, remember that transformation begins with small actions. Comment below a blessing that you are grateful for right now. And of course, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can continue receiving more content that will help you live with more faith, wisdom, and trust in God.